a flashlight came through the door, and he looked Richards over, and then he looked Markley over, and I thought I'd play dead, so I took this bloody hand and wiped over my face, and but then, before he got to me, I was shaking like a leaf. I was so scared that I couldn't help but shake. And I thought, well, what am I going to do, you know, because he'll know I'm still alive. About that time, well, Rich started coming to, and they were talking to one another. You know, the wounded was talking to the guard, and so he got up and went over and, with his flashlight, and looked at Rich and shot him. And pretty soon Markley started kind of moving around.
My throat was clogged up, and I tried to clear it, which caused me to make a little noise.
He started coughing, and so they came over and they rolled me kind of away from him a little ways and looked me all over. It just felt like that flashlight was burning my face. I didn't think I'd ever make it, and I didn't know, you know, how I'd ever get out of it.
I felt that I was...
I cannot imagine the kind of nightmares he would have about that night, specifically about that scene right there. I mean, I can't even fathom how scary that must have been. It almost reminds me of that Band of Brothers scene with Sergeant Randleman, and he was in the barn. I mean, oh, so scary.
With a group that would take care of me, and I'm going to take care of them, and we would fight for each other.
And then we heard this roar and big cloud of dust, and here come a convoy driving across there. And it was the Greeks arriving at Outpost Harry. And when the truck pulled up nearest me, there was a man standing up against the cab playing a musical instrument, something like a concertina, I would call it. And the men were singing, they were all jovial. And I thought, yeah, that's the way to run an army. I said, I like these guys.
The Greeks built a fire down along on the front lines there, and they were singing and making all kinds of noise, and they do that to try to entice the Chinese to kind of come down and see what's going on, you know. Well, then they would have their ambush patrol out, and they would capture them or take care of them, you know. And I thought that was pretty clever. The Greeks were darn good soldiers. We loved them.
And we all got to love them very much because they were fierce fighters. They, I don't think, ever retreated.
I can remember looking out the trench door, and this one Greek, there's two chinks come in on him with just both bayonets. They both had bayonets on their rifles. But I tell you, friend, I was scared to death. And he just exploded, knocked the rifles out of their hands, and grabbed the little old guy by the necks and punched their heads together. And they were still the rest of the time then.
So that is just something that you would see out of a movie. I mean, that just sounds like this Greek was not scared and he didn't give a shit. He was just all about just destroying those two Chinese, and that's exactly what he did. But yes, the Greeks are some of the best fighters in the world. There is no retreat. If you know anything about their history, especially their history with World War II, then you would understand.
What I remember about them is they had no fear. They were the best bayonet people in the world. And after every time the bayonets were used, they would clean them, take all the blood off. And it was amazing, because nobody else ever did that.
I
wonder what the purpose of that was, or maybe there was some symbolic reason.
Impressed with their attitude. They were all brave men. One of the nights there, one of the soldiers was slightly wounded in a small firefight, and the Greeks had a great celebration for him.
They were just happy-go-lucky. were not really concerned. They were the toughest people I've seen.
When the Chinese attacked them, they would fix bayonets and meet them halfway down the hill. Consequently, it became known that whenever the Chinese were certain they were online, they tended to avoid them. I wish we would have had more of them on Outpost Harry. Maybe they would have avoided us.
The Chinese were afraid of the Greeks. I think that's just classic. And I think that perfectly sums up the Greek military. They are a nation full of badasses. No fear, no retreat, no surrender. I thank the Greeks for saving us on that horrible night, and I thank all veterans of the Korean War. Never forget. Thank you guys so much for